It is Aggie's analysis, and I wanted to talk about, of course, a report that has just recently been released on single parents. They've shed light on the discrimination, systemic inequality that they face here in Aotearoa. These attitudes among systemic barriers affect their access to education, employment, healthcare, and other basic needs. Now, this report highlights the need for change to support our single parents and their children, and offers 3 areas for immediate impact and 8 key action areas for change. I'm just reading this because this is care of RNZ, this piece. Now, single parents in New Zealand face a range of challenges. For example, Producer Levi, 2/3 of those that they had surveyed have already experienced family violence. And you know we've spoken about that many times, about those stats being disgusting here in Aotearoa. However, when they seek support, and I thought this would probably be the line for today. However, when they seek support, instead of being protected, they are often investigated. Man. That's a big line to say, because the stigma is already that, you know, if you are a single parent, whether you're a single mum, and I don't want to exclude that there are single dads too, you are often considered that you come from a broken home. So if you come from a broken home, you are often then regarded as lesser than anyone else here in society. So with the stats here, they're saying in order for 73,560 people here in Aotearoa who are receiving sole parent support to thrive, a fundamental shift is required in how the government, business and society think about and engage with single parents. At present, if you are on the benefit, and if you're a single parent, you're receiving the benefit, and you have someone that stays over, of course, whether it's a partner or a friend that you have, if they stay over more than 3 times, they are deemed by the state to be in a relationship. They risk being investigated and their benefit cut, and then potentially being charged with benefit fraud. When I read that, the problem is that there are many people that do that, and they do defraud the system. And because of the few, it means that every other person gets penalised for those who don't know how to do things the correct way. So this is because it is assumed, again, that this new person in their life will contribute financially towards the single parent and their children. So if you are a single parent, I'm just going to ask you quickly, Producer Levi, how many single parents in your life, maybe off the top of the bat, do you know?
Oh, a bunch, man.
You know,
more than 10. Got to be like over 10 plus.
And are these just friends, or are they friends and family?
Some of them family, most of them friends.
Often what you've seen from their lives, do you think that they struggle often?
That's a good question, eh? Struggle like financially and all that sort of stuff?
In any way, shape or form, financially, emotionally, spiritually, physically,
100%.
how is it?
I noticed the emotional part, and then the financial part's a little bit more quiet, you know, but I know everyone gets what they need done and all that sort of stuff. So I think there's a little bit of struggle in there.
So from your perspective, you know that they actually are holding it down. They're actually looking after their kids. They're contributing to society. You would not say that they are, in a sense, broken? No. Okay.
Not the people that I know.
And you say you know a lot. See, so this is the thing, whereas having to identify that stigma here in Aotearoa, because as a single mother of the last 22 years, have I seen blatant discrimination and prejudice on who I am as a person. And because this talks a lot about single parents, and I'm just going to refer to single mamas more so, is you feel already lesser than, because of the emotional stress that you've gone through. So look, I want to say that you can become a single parent in many forms. That's either whether or not there is a breakdown in your relationship, either your partner left you, or your partner has passed, and so you become a single parent. So there's many ways that you can become a single parent, or you've just chosen that you want to go and have a kid, and then there's this whole IVF discussion that you just go and have a kid. Or a one-night stand. So there are so many things, right, that can make you become a single parent. Does all of them equate to the fact that you are from a broken home? Because I've seen many people who are in lower and middle socioeconomic situations versus those who are in upper class, and they've decided to just have a baby because they wanted to become a mother. Or if not that, then of course the child is left with the father, so you become a single dad. The stigma is, though, that when we already know as a single parent, this is my gripe, I already know that I've already gone through a hard situation, your judgment isn't going to make the situation any better, right? So this is where the stigma starts, because do you think I don't already know that I'm already in a hard spot? Do you think that I grew up and at 15, 16, 17 all of a sudden said, you know what, I want to be a single mom? Do you know what I mean? When you do get into that situation, the judgment comes because we have already social norms, we already have expectations on people. And especially as Māori Pasifika people here in Aotearoa, we have cultural obligations and family things that you want to honour, you want to be do you know what I mean? You want to be that person in your family. We all want to make our families proud.
That's right.
But the moment you make a mistake, that is the defining moment where you can actually see the strength of your family, whether they are actually for you or whether they're against you.
100%.
And that's the hardest thing as being a single parent. As one, when I became one, it wasn't out of yes, okay, you know, they would have said, well, Aggie, when you go and have sex before marriage, this is what happens. Okay, so I'm already going to have that conversation. Awesome, I already know. That's going to be my gripe that I'm going to have to deal with Jesus. If that is my relationship with God, I'm going to have to come before him, not before anybody else. And this is just me speaking from a person of faith now. And so when I have journeyed throughout my single parenthoodness, I've realized that when I had to go, and I couldn't go to work. My responsibility was that I chose to look after my son when I first became a single parent, right? One, because his father decided to gap it and do his own thing. So then I am left with a child. I'm not going to be that person and be like, is there anywhere that someone can take children? No, I'm not. That would never have been the case, which is, I know the case for every person, every mother that has become a single parent. They would never not give it up. That is something that has been birthed from you, and you would want to do your best. So then the hard struggle after that is having to understand work-life balance, right? Because they are expecting you now, even though you've mucked up in life of what they say you have, they believe that you aren't able to go back to school, aren't able to get some work, and that's the hardest thing. They always say the first year of a child is the most important, because you are teaching them, you're growing them up to try and understand what the world is like. Now, if you are already going through emotional distress because your deadbeat partner has decided to leave, how in the world do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this is where this is the opportunity where a community can really step in and help, because I'm telling you, I guarantee you, that mother already knows what it's like. It already feels like crap. But to you to have to offer your judgment on top and be like, oh, gosh, here we go, another one. Yeah, I know it's another one, but that's another child that they have birthed. And if you want our society to thrive, the biggest thing that you can do is help those who are considered the least.
Aggie, when you see the report on like the stigmas and all that stuff, when you read what, like say, like a stigma, for example, in that example is like a broken family, right? Like they would just assume if you're in a household with a single parent, you're just in a broken family. Can you relate to a lot of those, like what they say, like what people, the stigma behind it and what they're saying in their report? Are you like, hey, that's what people have done to me before?
Oh gosh, absolutely. I'm telling you, when I used to walk, the moment I knew I had to go into work and income and apply for a benefit, it was probably, to be honest, the most degrading thing.
Really?
Because I've always been someone who I can do everything on my own, but now that I actually really am on my own, I need support. And it doesn't help when it says here that the stigma often comes from governmental places, which i.e. means Ministry of Social Development wins. And when you walk into that space and you know that you're sitting down, you've got your bubba next to you, and you're having to explain, and it's like they're trying to, like they say, investigate you to a point where you feel more like, let's be honest, like shit.
Yeah.
That really is already what you're sitting there with.
Yeah.
I understand, I'm here, but I'm here because I'm hoping that you have a little bit of empathy and that you would understand my situation, because I don't want to stay here. Yeah, so that's often what it is. It's that they think that we just want to stay here, get the benefit, and just bludge off the welfare.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's not something that I'll ever have to think about. Obviously, my circumstance is not that. But when you say that, I'm like, actually, there's probably been a few times in my life when I've like heard of similar sort of stories. You know what I mean? Or people feel like they need to feel sorry for, say, like a single dad or a single mom and stuff. And I've been in environments where they're sitting there like, man, I'm cool. Like this doesn't equal brokenness. This is just my current reality, and this is what we've got at the moment.
And I think, if anything, I know I'm not I would say I'm the minority, because what the sad fact is here in Aotearoa is most single parents don't have proper support.
Right.
And that's really where it comes from. I was very, very lucky to have an amazing mum who decided to come along as disappointed as she was in my actions as a young Tongan Samoan girl. You know I should have done better. But if anything, what she showed me was the grace that I know not is afforded to every single parent. So she offered me that grace in a sense where I had her support. So I was able to then look after my child at that time, and then at the same time she was more than willing to look after him so that I could go back to work, so that I can, be part of society. And not because I get it, right? Everyone who has a full-time job, your taxes go to those who are on the benefit. We get that. But if anything, I just think there needs to be more empathy, there needs to be more compassion. But we don't have compassion because in this day and age, everyone wants something for yourself.
Then how does it make you feel with when you read that story and then there's the report and you see the reality of how single mums like yourself maybe are being perceived? How does that sort of... is that not a shock to you, sort of just reading that?
This isn't a shock. So, if anything, I think it's a bit of a joke sometimes because we already know, but there's obviously a official report to say that, because now it just backs up how every other single parent has felt. And when you're in a country where I believe we are afforded a lot of good freedoms here in Aotearoa, right? If anything, I'm so thankful that we do have the welfare. And the welfare was instituted because of times of when you are in financial distress or hardship, you can go on the benefit and you can get the support. It may not seem much to a lot of single parents because right now the cost of living is horrendous. But for me, I'm very grateful that there was something like that. That's the thing. There are not many countries that even receive anything like that. So I'm very grateful at the same time. But at the same time, when you're looked upon like you are crap,
lesser than in a way, right?
it does not help me having to want to move forward. You wonder why a lot of people just stay on the benefit, because they're just like, at least I'm getting this. But let me tell you, there is a way to navigate this space, and there is a way where you can actually probably contribute more to, if we don't want to see more families having children, then there needs to be a bigger conversation around the family unit and how we are with children. Like, let me tell you, why did I become a single parent? Not because of me wanting it, it's because and that's the reality I know for a lot of single mamas, is that we're looking for love in the wrong places. That really is what it comes down to. And when you're in that place and then you become physical, you become sexually involved with someone, it can go either way, right? It can work, but majority we understand it won't work. So my thing is the family unit. If you don't want to have a broken home, but then again, it's a bit of an overreach to say broken homes, because let me tell you, there are many people in upper society that can look like they're okay, but behind closed doors,
100%,
right, having issues. And that's the thing, we live in a country and we live in a world that there will always be issues. But my thing is, how can we approach these things with a little bit more empathy and compassion? Because at the end of the day, we are raising the next generation. So how do we raise the next generation to be better than how we were?
Do you think there's anything in that report that's exposing anything that people weren't really aware of? Or do you think it's just...
Well, they're just saying here, of course, that the three things they want to highlight, of course, is trying to promote positive narratives of single-parent families to try and help reduce that stigma. And then, of course, now they have this development of a nationwide single-parent network to deliver it, respecting single-parent mana. The whole thing about protection, not investigation. They want to have training, ongoing support for policymakers, frontline staff, government officials and communities towards ensuring that single-parent whānau are protected and have equal opportunities to thrive. Now, I understand that sometimes we don't have equal opportunities to thrive. And I don't think I got the equal opportunity back then too, because I was slammed for not being able to name my son's father on his birth certificate. Why? Because the father didn't want to come to play and be able to be upfront and say that I am the father. Right? So how do you explain that? Well, guess what? I took him to court and to prove that he was the father.
Right.
But do you understand? It's like the stress that I'm already going through, having to know that I'm on my own, and then having to go through levels of that to have to prove, that is the father, This was no one-night stand. This was I was about to get married, and I was about to live what I assumed was the happy family. But it didn't work out like that, and I know it doesn't work out like that for a lot of people. But I would just hope that anyone out there who was a single parent, please know that you matter. Please know that you are superheroes. I honestly believe that people who are single parent, I've seen their children become some of the greatest people in this world. And I just think if we understood someone's worth, then we wouldn't be putting a stigma on single parents. We would want to come around them, and we would want them to flourish and thrive, especially in this day and age, because we understand how do we come from a country that has the highest suicide rates? How do we have such high stats in these areas? It's because we have not afforded these people grace, forgiveness, and then to rally around them and make sure that they do better in life. That's my thing. That's just my take on it. But is my voice enough to make some change? Even this policy and even this report, is that enough to see change in Aotearoa? If anything, we just have to have real conversations, and we have to make sure that we're not just sweeping it under the carpet. And we can give so many handouts via wins, but let me tell you, there are many single parents that are thriving and are not on the benefit. And I give it up to any single parent who has had to work their butt off to be able to get to a place where they can love themselves enough to know that whatever they went through, that they're still counted. Do you know what I mean? If anything, I want my kids to understand that even though I am a single parent to them, that they would have seen a mother who would have sacrificed so much in order for them to do better in life than I have ever done.
Yeah.
And I see my kids and I watch my kids, and I know they're going to do better than me. I know they're going to contribute to society. I know they're going to go fulfill their purpose in whatever it is that they have and whatever they've been gifted and talented in. Why? Because I actually had a really good village alongside me. And I think that's the other thing. I was speaking about this just to my girlfriend the other day. I had the support, but what about those who have absolute nothing? And all they do is they literally rely on the benefit to get them through.
Yeah.
I think we can do better. It's not just about handing out money, because let me tell you, trying to just provide food for your kids isn't the only way to bring up a happy, healthy child. Right? If you teach your kids to understand the importance of being resilient, of being able to be brave and courageous through any type of scenario that they enter in life, I honestly believe we are going to grow great children. It really doesn't come down to just having to have my children have a meat pie instead of, I don't know, a fully cooked breakfast. I remember having a pie when I was growing up. I didn't consider my family being poor. Like a pie is a luxury.
Come on.
Really? Hey, a pie is a luxury. But do you know what I mean? I remember going to school with spaghetti sandwiches. And let me tell you, that was yum as. And I never ever looked at it as if I was poor. And this is my thing. I never looked at it as if I came from a broken family. If your kids are having spaghetti sandwiches, let me tell you, your kids will be fine. Do you know what I mean? It just is. I think we create such a narrative that it's just like, they're just getting the bare minimum and these kids are not going to thrive. They will thrive. Let me tell you, your kids will thrive as long as they know that you love them and that you're going to support them. And I know they can sound cliche because they're probably thinking, love is only what's not going to feed my children. Yes, it will. Yes, it will, because it will start creating ideas within your family. You will start to become creative. You will know ways of how to get through. Right? Being on the benefit isn't the only way of life. We have been taught. I see so many people hustle now, ever since COVID happened, about having to learn how to hustle and have side hustles, right? Of what you're actually gifted at and what you're actually loving to do in life. People decided to do things because all of a sudden society got shut down. And so this is my thing. For single parents out there, you may feel that you're shut down, but let me tell you, it's the perfect opportunity for you to rise up and do something great with your life and with your children.
It's also a perfect opportunity for a beautiful 6'2" Fijian man to make his way in right here.
If you know somebody, if you know anyone out there that is possibly fitting that description, my number is...
I like hearing the Aggie. Yeah, I like hearing your heart behind it, because it must be weird to read the stats, but it's literally your situation, and then you can probably just see the stigmas that other people are thinking. It can be a little bit hard sometimes to, you know, when you have that anxiety thing sometimes, when you think you know other people are thinking about you, but then you've got stats right there that telling you it's exactly what they're thinking.
But that's it. Because we often go through this, we overcompensate and we overthink things, because we're just like, I'm sure that person just thinks I'm a deadbeat. But really, the deadbeat is the person that left, which is the other parent.
Here we go. Here's the sauce.
And if I was going to say... if we're going to expose you today, it'll be that he's a cop down the line. And... no, Aggie's not going to go there. But let me tell you, all I can say is being a single parent or being a single mother is the mother of all jobs, because it will be the hardest, but as cliche as they say, it is the most rewarding. So I just hope that anyone be encouraged that yes, there is a stigma, but that isn't what defines you as a parent. All right? You don't need to accept those labels. That's my thing. We can do better, and I know that we are going to moving forward. Now that this report is out, at least know that there is support, that there are people who have finally done a bit of research and have understood, oh yeah, there is a bit of stigma here in Aotearoa. So yeah, let's just do better, guys. If you know a single parent out there, please be that person that can go out and offer some support and help them, whatever it may be. If you want to go and do their dishes, do their dishes. Do you want to make some breakfast for them, clean up their yard, whatever. Any way, shape or form, that'll help alleviate the pressure that a single parent is already under. But much love to every single parent out there. You are doing an amazing job. And we're raising the next generation.
It's a superhero job.
Yes, it is. Thank you very much. But yeah, so that's our Dala Noa for Aggie's analysis. If you've got thoughts, then call us on 0800 000 531. Text us to 531. If not, we welcome your emails to agnes.tupou@pmn.co.nz. It's time to pay the bills right here on 531 PI. Good morning.